So, Gorilla Tag, everyone loves it. You get to be a monkey and get called racial slurs by a 6-year-old. And Minecraft, everyone loves building and crafting stuff, so what if we just combine the two and make it a VR game? The first thing I need is that classic Gorilla Tag movement. Luckily, the developer posted the code on GitHub, so... And just like that, our Gorilla Tag movement code is working really well. I then got to work on modeling a super simple terrain and made it so that trees and rocks would randomly generate, and boom! Now we have a randomly generating terrain that's fun to run around in. But our player needs some tool to use, so I got some from the Unity asset store, and boom! Now our player has an axe and pickaxe that they can use. I also used Unity particle system to create a simple effect that plays when you break down stuff. Now the main thing in a survival game is the inventory, since you need a way to store and organize your items. So I tried to get a basic one working, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. Let's try to make it a bit more advanced, and it's broken. You can now duplicate items. You know, it's not a bug, it's a feature. But for real, I was able to get the inventory system working pretty well. But now we need a way to get items. So I made a script, and now the trees and rocks can drop items. Now I know it's just a brown block for now, but just imagine it's wood. We good? Great, let's move on. Now I want this game to be multiplayer, and usually for me, I'll make 2 scenes, one being single player and the other one being multiplayer, which makes it easier, but for this, I was like, what if I just made it 1 scene to save time? And it was hard. Every time I destroyed or created an object, I had to call a script to check if it was multiplayer, and if so, create it the multiplayer way, and if it was single player, create it the single player way. Since I'm not the best at coding, it was a little bit of a buggy mess, but after like 5 hours of coding, we got multiplayer, baby! Now I made it so that objects would sync and made basic object authority. So when you move an object, it will sync to the other player, and when the other player moves the object, it will sync to you. I then made it so that if you are holding an object, the other person can't grab it from you and steal it. And I finally made it so that if you put an object in your backpack or hotbar, it will not show the object to the other players. I also added swimming and some new ore types, which I modeled in Blender. Right now you can only get tin, gold, and mithril, but I hope to add more ore types later on. But now it's time for one of the hardest challenges yet, crafting. I don't know why, but crafting took me a stupid long time to get working. I also had to rewrite the entire item system because the first time I wrote it, I was stupid and wrote it like script-based, and I wanted it to be scriptable object-based, that way I could create new objects easily. So I had to rewrite the entire system. I also made scriptable objects for recipes. I made a crafting script, and I had to do a bunch of stuff, like check what items you have. Can you craft this item? If you can craft this item, which item does it need to spawn? Which items does it need to remove? I had to create a UI for the main menu. So it's been like 2 real-life days working on this, and afterwards we got a crafting system. It's pretty intuitive to use, and I only had 2 items at start, but since I made it scriptable objects, it's super easy to add more items. So it was worth it to rewrite the whole code system, but it still sucked to do. Now the player has tools, but you know what he needs? A weapon, because what's a survival game if you can't cause violence? So I modeled this sick looking sword in Blender and gave it to the player, so now you can wave around a copper sword. But what's the point of a weapon if you can't use it? So I'd like to introduce you to Skelly the Skeleton. So Skelly right now is just a model, so I gave it some AI and boom, now you guys can fight to the death. I also made it so that when you kill him, he will drop gems. And you might be wondering, well, what are the gems for? Well, you see, I modeled this sick looking altar which lets you spawn beefed out Skelly. Now to spawn beefed out Skelly, all you have to do is collect 6 gem types which the enemies can spawn. It takes a little bit of time to get all the gems, but once you do, you can spawn him. And let me just say, beefed out Skelly is hard. He's got like 5 times the health, runs the exact same speed, does like 25 damage a hit, so he died in 4 hits, so when I tried to fight him, I died a lot. But anyway, after you somehow kill him, he drops tons of loot. So it's kind of like a high risk, high reward because you are going to die a lot, but he drops like tons of loot. Now we're almost done with the game, so I quickly made a main menu like super simple, and it just has 2 buttons, a single player and multiplayer game, and once you hit a button, it'll load you into the map. And after that, the game is done. And boom, just like that, we got a super simple VR survival game in 2 weeks. And I just want to say this isn't the end of development, but just the beta being released. Also, if you'd like to try out the game, you can join the Discord, link in the description, and download the game. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, thank you for watching, and have a great day.